Right, let's get started. So, starting your own coaching business. It's time to learn how we're going to get going and set up all the things we need to have in place to really put the foundations in place to have a successful online coaching business. So, you might be thinking from the start, why would I start a coaching business? And do you have the skills as well? Because obviously you're going to need some skills if you're going into business. So have a think about, do you have valuable knowledge in a niche where there's demand for it? So there may be things that you are so talented in and you haven't even realized that other people could do with those talents. And so you might be just sitting on information that could really, really help you kickstart a brand new career. But on top of that, lots of people have knowledge in different areas, but they need to have the right mindset to turn this knowledge into a business, because ultimately building a business is, you do have to do work. You do have to market yourself. You do have to get certain business assets in place. And if you are thinking, okay, well, I'll just do this and get some clients this week and I'll just see what happens, it's probably not going to be successful. So you need to think to yourself, is this something that you are really inclined to do? Because the results will be potentially really amazing, because it's not only monetary results, it's the fact that it has an impact on your lifestyle. You can choose when you are working, when you're taking time off, who you're working with, all of those things, which if you are employed, you don't actually have those choices. You're pretty much told what to do, when to be there, and how long to be there. So if you are at this stage now and you haven't started anything towards this coaching business, think about your plan. Like, do you have a plan to make this happen? And throughout the course, you will be getting ideas and action points and tips which will help you move this concept into a real business. So there's some amazing reasons to start a coaching business. And as I was explaining, so many of us are sitting on a mountain of value. And like, what is that mountain of value that you are sitting on? What expertise do you have? So I could look into the back catalogue of the things that I've done in my life. I used to be a lawyer and I learned skills through there. I've been through university. I came out of university. I started off on entrepreneurship, and pretty much I learned about digital marketing. I've learned about Facebook ads. I've done Google ads. I don't use these in everyday life, but they're things that I have learned. And because I have learned so much in the digital marketing space, and then I've gone on and I've learned about, I've experienced what it is to be a speaker. I've experienced how I need to do certain things to make my speaking engagements better. I've done online courses in the past. Every time I knew a brand new online course, I try and make it better than the last time. I learn from it. I do different slides. All of these things are adding to the value that you could give to others. And a bit like in this course, I'm sharing with you insights that you can't get elsewhere, because you can get them in a different form, but you can't get them from me elsewhere. And this is all my experience based on my practical understanding, based on the things that I've done, that I've seen work and which don't work. So, for example, when I started off, I built a WordPress website, and I spent a long time making this website, and I decided on this concept of an idea. So I decided I was going to get into entrepreneurship, and I decided I was going to create a website for the holiday Halloween. So I bought the domain name Spirits of Halloween or something similar to that. And I spent ages building this WordPress website. And then I thought what I'll do is I will link this to eBay and then have affiliate links. And that would be, I could sell Halloween products, because I thought, okay, there's going to be a massive demand for Halloween products. And I will link it to my eBay site. And I set up a whole thing where I would get commissions. Anyhow, I I spent a lot of hours. I learned a lot about WordPress. I learned a lot about how to connect a domain name to a website. I learned loads of stuff. Okay, so this is good experience. However, and maybe some of you have already thought about this, but there's one thing about Halloween that I cannot change, and that is it is a once a year holiday. And when I say holiday, it depends where you live. If you live in the UK, Halloween is pretty much possibly dressing up if you are really into dressing up and going out in the evening. I think it's much bigger if you live in America, but pretty much it's not going to be a sustainable business model because people are only thinking about it maybe in October. And after that, the website would not get any hits and people would not be buying things. So it was a bad idea on all accounts. And now I tell you the story and I'm thinking, okay, now, yes, it wasn't a good idea from a business concept. However, it did give me lots of skills. It gave me a story to share with you. So I think there's Simon Coulson in his Internet Business School training. I think he tells a story about someone who set up a business around cider, making cider. And obviously there's peaks in the cider season when apples are ready and then it goes and drops off. So it's that kind of business. So there's things like that I've actually learned along the way and I've shared with you. So when you are thinking about businesses or coaching, what is it you're coaching around? And if, for example, you decided to share your skills around how to run a marathon, maybe that would be coaching, which is specifically around the events, marathon events throughout the year. And maybe that would be peaks in your coaching, people needing coaching. And then other times of the year, people wouldn't want as much coaching. So maybe that works for your schedule. But think about, what mountain of value are you sitting on and how can you translate that value into a product that other people can benefit from? Because that is what we want to do. We want to help others on their journey, but also help ourselves to live a life that we really want to be living. So why now? Why would we be doing it now? Well, at this time, we are still, we're at the end, hopefully towards the end of the COVID-19, the pandemic, which has meant there's been a massive move to people working online. And we have shifted so much about how we see things and what we can do. So in the past, you'd have to have in-person meetings, and now so much of it is online. And so I think this has taught us as a society that we don't necessarily need to meet in person, and we can still achieve what we need to achieve virtually. Now, this is amazing news if you're thinking about going into online coaching, because we as creatures of humans, we learn behaviors. So, for example, social distancing. It's going to take us a long time to get back to a time where we ultimately go up and shake hands with people or hug somebody, even though we're told that we are allowed to do it and we are allowed to meet in houses. We have been conditioned, and conditioning is so powerful, and it creates those habits. We've got into the habit of not going around to people's houses. We've got into the habit of not necessarily engaging too much with other people because we're behind a mask and all those kind of things. So in terms of the opportunity now, it's an amazing opportunity because people are much more open to online coaching. And so if you experience, if you have a conversation with someone and you say, well, I do online coaching, they're going to say, okay, brilliant. Online coaching is something that we would be open to, whereas in the past maybe we wouldn't be open to it because they're thinking, okay, well, I'd actually rather see you in person. But now things have changed, so that's a massive reason why now is a really good idea to get started with this. On top of that, the world is changing so rapidly, and things like artificial intelligence, for example, they're giving us more opportunities. They are giving us access to develop and learn. And there's a great app where you can get, through AI, it will create copy for you and headlines for you. And so you can get your marketing done really quickly by using these tools. And things like that mean that people are wanting to grow, needing the help, wanting it quickly, wanting to access a global market. This increased digitalization means that people are able to have coaching. My coaches have come from all around the world. America, I've coached with people in Indonesia, the UK. So it's to think that I had an American coach. In back in the day, you'd be like, well, did they live in England? And they didn't. So things like that are really helping us. And we've got alongside this all these communication tools. So Zoom, for example, and Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. And we have so many opportunities and so many ways to connect with people. We've got email. All these things weren't around back in my day. But when I was younger, we didn't have these things. I had one of the first mobile phones, and I remember when I went to university, not everybody had a phone. Well, nobody had a phone really, but I had one because my parents were in that business. But now everybody's got a phone, from age 11 or something, or maybe younger. So things have changed. And so online coaching is a great way to tap into that opportunity and really, you've got access to a global market. So it's exciting times. The other thing is that personal development demand is increasing. So we are much more open to the fact that there are resources out there and easy links to education that can help us in our life get to where we want to. So we're all looking at things like Instagram and Facebook and all these social media feeds, and we're seeing other people's lifestyles, and we're thinking, okay, we want to get fitter, or we want to start a business, or there's just so many different things that we can do now. Because one about all the things I was saying before about this access to a global market, to mentors and coaches and the digitalization and all of those things. But also we see through social media how we can, better ourselves. And yes, you need to be careful with social media. So, if you're looking on Instagram, it is a highlight reel. It's not people's real lives, but still it gives us aspirations and it inspires us. So now people want life coaching. They want to move to the next level. They're thinking about changing their career. So years ago, people would get into one career and that's where they would stay. But things are changing now. People are open to career changes. Career changes are forced on people. There's lots of things happening nowadays that weren't happening years ago. In health and wellness, it's a massive market, and people want to feel healthier, want to get better fitness levels, all of these things. So this is a really great time and I think as well, we're coming out of this period of reflection, and so many of us have, gone through loss and all these different things that have happened. So I think we've been forced to stay at home in our own countries. And now we're thinking, right, we need to take life by the hands and move ourselves forwards, because life is short, and we have come to realize this. And we've had, social connections gone down because we've been forced to do it because of the pandemic. So there's so many people now feeling, right, this is a shot I'm going to take, and I'm not going to sit back and let things pass me by. So maybe you've been writing a book, maybe you've thought about writing a book because you've got expertise in a particular niche. So if you have done that, well, you're definitely going to be someone who's going to be perfect for coaching, because you've learned so much and you have enough to share in a book. If you like working with others, again, it's a brilliant reason to get started with a coaching business, because you can have that one-to-one and you can see people progress in their lives. And there's so much satisfaction where you see that. So it's not just about doing a job just to get the money. It's about seeing people progress in life, and where we see people progress, and it inspires us and we feel good about ourselves. So the other thing is, if you'd like a flexible schedule. So I'm really flexible. I do things around the children. I work maybe at the weekends, or I'll take a day off in the week just because I want to. Or, like now, I don't need to be doing this now. I can stop and take the rest of the day off. I could go shopping or do anything I really want to, go to the gym. because it's my schedule. Obviously, if you have clients booked in, you are stuck to those times if you have pre-agreed them, but you can block time out in your diary and say do client calls on Tuesday afternoons. And then you know that Tuesday afternoons are your time for being in the office. But other than that, you are very flexible. The other thing that is good is that you can work from wherever you want to. So I work from home. Sometimes I go away and stay with my parents and work from their house. I've been abroad and work from there. So it's really, really good because you're not stuck to the office. And that's when I look back at my time being a lawyer, I think, my gosh, I used to sit in this office and I'd stare out the window and see people walking by on the street and feel like I was totally missing out on life because everyone else was out there and I was stuck in this office doing something that was really unfulfilling. So, and when we do anything, if it's just for the benefit of somebody else, it is hard to keep going with that because even though we like to see others succeed, we need to have that self-fulfillment as an individual to really keep pushing forward. And so it's important that we think about, what benefits will you get as an online coach? So think about the fact that when you're doing it, this is really, really great for your own professional and personal growth. So personally, I've gone through a whole journey where I have had to push myself outside my comfort zone. So I've had to develop more confidence. So when the first time I went to London, and actually I went on the internet marketing course that I told you about in the first module, I was on the M25, which is one of the busiest motorways. And I remember being scared. Oh my gosh, I'm on the M25. And then when we got to the hotel, I didn't really want to get out of the hotel car park because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in London. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I was thinking, oh my gosh. And then I went into the hotel and it was all a bit overwhelming. And then fast forward less than a year, I was traveling around the world on my own, speaking at events. And I wasn't the best speaker, and I still am not the best speaker, but I have tried and I have spoken and I've messed up and I've not died. And that's the thing. It's like, if you do anything and, what's the worst case scenario? You will die from it. So that is definitely the worst case scenario. And you're not going to die from being embarrassed. It might knock your ego, but it just gives you an opportunity just to keep trying and keep pushing yourself to the next level. So this is a great way. It's great for your professional and your personal growth. You can develop confidence. Your communication skills will improve. You will learn better how to communicate with others and how to express your needs and understand their needs as well. Because if you don't express things about how you're feeling, you're not going to move yourself forward because you're going to come up against conflict. So if you're working for yourself, you need a self-discipline. You need to be able to get going in the morning. This morning, it's fairly early now, but I decided, right, I'm going to start early, start recording these slides, start doing this online course. So then I have opportunities later to do other things I want to do. However, now I could be sitting on the sofa with a cup of tea, watching some television or reading my book or doing something else or going for a walk with the dog, whatever it might be. But if you want to succeed, you need to have that self-discipline where it makes you sit in front of your desk and do what needs to get done. And once you start doing online coaching, and I've done this so much, like I was explaining to you about the Spirits of Halloween website that I did, I've expanded into so many areas. So I was really keen on membership sites and looking at community building, and that's my specialism. However, I've gone into Facebook groups. I've done coaching around online businesses. I've taught social media. I've done so many things. So there's so many opportunities to expand into new areas and ones that are connected. So I have done workshops and facilitated consultation days around business culture. And I really love doing that because I love people and understanding how people interact. And that becomes kind of like a side project to the community building. They kind of work side by side, so culture and community. And through my work, I understood that I really love facilitating workshops. And I set up an online community I did an online course myself, And then when that finished, I said, who would like to carry on with this and meet up every week on Zoom? And so I built this community, which is called the Like-Hearted Leaders. And we meet every week, and I've built out a website, and it's kind of scrappy. It's not completely singing and dancing and everything's perfect on it. But what is brilliant on it is the engagement. People turn up every Friday. People are adding to the community all the time because they want to be part of it. And it was, that wasn't where I started, but now I have this online membership site, and it brings me satisfaction. It also brings me, monetary, value. So all of these things add to where I was 8 or 9 years ago. And like I said before, set out your own diary and your own work times. And that is the best thing, because where you can choose what you're going to do each day, to me, one of my biggest values is freedom. And the fact that I'm free to decide how I show up, who I speak to every day, when I work, when I don't work, is really important to me. And moving on from that, like, how much will you earn? It's up to you. So if you cross your diary out and only work 1 day a week, maybe you're not going to earn as much. Or maybe you put more time into creating your business, improving your brand, growing your profile. You write a book to raise your profile and become the best coach, and then you're going to earn money. It's up to you. Do you push yourself? Do you think to yourself, I could be charging more? And do you do some training or start looking into, okay, why am I not charging more? Now, it could be because you don't value yourself. So there might be some inner mindset work you need to do. So over the years, I've done NLP, which is around mindset work. I've done with a guy called Richard Bandler, who was one of the founders of NLP. And Paul McKenna was there as well. I've worked with Tony Robbins around mindset. I've done transformational leadership workshops, which have completely pushed me. I mean, I did a 3-day workshop, and actually I did 2 3-day workshops with the same people, Alexi Panos and Preston Smiles, and it was so uncomfortable. Like the stuff that they make you do, but it's trying to push you. It's trying to push you to be the next bigger version of yourself. And where you can push yourself like that, you can expand your earning and learning opportunities. So it's super important that you do, dig deep into these things and really see how far you can go. Set yourself the goals, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. So how do you get started? Well, this is the great thing. Most of us have a laptop or a desktop computer. So you need that, obviously, if you're going to be an online coach. I mean, technically, you could go down to a library and do it, possibly. But I think pretty much all of us do. And most of us have got smartphones. So you could do it via smartphone if you really didn't have a laptop. But you can get even a Chromebook. You can get things for cheaper. You could probably rent one if it was that, or borrow a friend. So, pretty much it's quite easy to access. You're going to need an internet connection to be an online coach. So I know it sounds a bit obvious, but that's what you need. And then probably all you need is a Zoom account. And so you can do face-to-face consultations. And if you do one-to-one and not group, you can have that for free. So that's a free way. So probably got a laptop. You most definitely pretty much going to have to, or you will have an internet connection already because you're watching this. So you're probably watching this online, and a Zoom account's free. So that's all you really need to get started. You need ambition and you need drive as well. And you can't buy that, but you're here and you're watching this training course. So I feel that you're going to have that. So I hope that's given you some food for thought. I will see you in the next module where we're talking about developing a successful online coach mindset. See you in a moment.